The sun rose softly over the Kingdom of Valeora, spilling golden light across rolling hills and winding cobblestone roads. The morning mist curled around the fields, where farmers began their work and children chased chickens through the dusty courtyards. Bells from the distant temple rang, echoing through the valley like the heartbeat of the land itself. Valeora was a place of peace and prosperity, ruled by King Naran, a young monarch of 25. He was kind, brave, and proud. The people loved him deeply. Yet his heart carried a quiet worry. He had never known what it meant to struggle. His palace was made of marble, his life woven with silk and gold. He longed to understand the world of his people, the hardships, the patience, the grit that built the kingdom long before he inherited it. Far beyond the palace walls, at the edge of the kingdom lived Elder Naran, a weather-beaten farmer whose beard was silver like frost. His hands were scarred from decades of work, and his back bent gently from years of carrying more than his share of burdens. But his eyes still carried the calm of a morning river. Naran was the kind of man who listened to the wind before he spoke, who found beauty in broken things. He lived alone in a small hut beside a quiet dirt road that led to the capital, a road that would soon become the stage for a story that would change the kingdom forever. One night, a great storm swept across Valeora. The rain fell like endless glass needles, and the mountains roared with thunder. In the heart of the storm, a giant boulder broke loose from the cliffs and rolled down onto the king's main road, the road that led from the palace to the villages. By morning, when the sun rose again, the storm was gone. But the boulder remained, enormous, unmoving, and completely blocking the way. When the villagers saw it, they gasped. The road was the lifeline of their trade and travel. Caravans halted, merchants cursed, and farmers stood staring helplessly at the obstacle. The boulder sat there, cold, grey and silent, like a challenge sent from the heavens. Soon, word reached the palace. The young King Naran, curious, disguised himself in simple robes and rode out to see the problem for himself. He stood among the people, unnoticed, listening. A merchant spat in frustration. "Look at this. Days of delay! My goods will spoil before I reach the market." A nobleman from the capital crossed his arms. "This is the king's fault. Where are the workers? Why hasn't anyone cleared it?" A soldier shrugged. "Not our duty. The engineers will handle it." And so it went. People complaining, blaming, and waiting for someone else to fix it. But no one moved. All day, the boulder sat in the sun while the people went around it, muttering and grumbling. By evening, the road was quiet again, all except for one figure, the old farmer Naran. As the sun dipped low, painting the hills in amber and fire, Elder Naran came walking with his old wooden cart, pulled by a tired ox. His cart was filled with sacks of rice bound for the capital. When he reached the boulder, he stopped. He looked at it quietly for a long time. Then he smiled faintly. "Well," he murmured to himself, "you're a big one, aren't you? Blocking the king's road like you own it." He set down his walking stick and touched the rock. It was cold under his calloused hand, its surface rough and stubborn. He looked around. No one was there. The sky had begun to darken. He could have turned back, gone home, and waited like everyone else. But something in his heart whispered, "No, not this time." He took a deep breath and began to work. Naran pushed first, with all his strength, both hands on the stone. It didn't move an inch. His old bones ached, and sweat gathered on his forehead. He fetched a wooden lever from his cart and wedged it under the boulder. The lever cracked. He sighed. "All right then," he said softly. "You win the first round." He gathered stones, logs, and ropes. He tied the ropes around the rock, looped them through his ox's harness, and whispered to the animal, "Come on, old friend. Let's show this mountain what two stubborn souls can do." Hour by hour, inch by inch, they strained. The sound of creaking ropes and the farmer's quiet grunts filled the valley. His hands bled and his back screamed in protest. But his eyes stayed calm, that same calm that had seen both drought and flood, both famine and harvest. When night fell, the moon rose behind the mountain, silvering the sweat on his brow. Still, he worked. By dawn, the boulder had shifted. just enough to reveal a small hollow in the earth beneath it. As Naran wiped the dirt from his face, he noticed something glimmering faintly inside the hollow, a small leather pouch covered in dust. Curious, he pulled it out and untied the string. Inside was a bag of gold coins. On the top lay a folded piece of parchment sealed with the royal emblem of Valeora. He opened it. The note read, "To the one who chooses action over complaint, who sees a challenge not as a curse, but as a test, this reward is for you. King Arin." Naran stood still, the paper trembling in his hands. The king had placed the boulder there, not by accident, but as a test for his people. And out of an entire kingdom, only one man had tried to move it. He looked toward the palace on the horizon, golden under the morning sun, and whispered, "So that's what this was all about." Later that day, King Arin rode down the same road, this time dressed in his royal robes. He expected to find the boulder still there. Instead, he found the road clear, and an old farmer standing quietly by his ox, wiping sweat from his brow. The king dismounted. "You," he said softly, "did you move this?" Naran bowed slightly. "Aye, your majesty. It was in the way. I only did what needed to be done." The king's eyes widened. "Do you know what was beneath it?" Naran smiled faintly. "Aye, gold and a lesson," Arin nodded, deeply moved. "You're wiser than most of my council, old one. What lesson did you find?" Naran looked at the king, really looked at him, as if seeing beyond the crown and silk. "That obstacles," he said, "are not sent to stop us, but to make us stronger. You see, Majesty, a smooth road teaches a man nothing, but a hard one, it teaches him everything." For a long moment, the two stood in silence, the young king and the old farmer, the morning breeze whispering between them. The king declared a feast that night in honor of Elder Naran. The villagers gathered in the palace courtyard, torches blazing like stars. Musicians played, children laughed, and for the first time, the people saw their king and a humble farmer sitting side by side at the same table. When the king stood to speak, his voice carried across the crowd. "My people, the boulder on the road was no accident. I placed it there to test our hearts. Many saw it, many complained, but only one man tried to move it. Elder Naran showed us all that action is greater than anger, and effort is greater than excuses." He turned to Naran. "From this day on, you shall be known as the keeper of the road, and every traveler who passes through Valeora will walk a path that your hands made clear." The crowd erupted in applause. Tears welled in Naran's eyes, though he quickly brushed them away. "Your Majesty," he said gently, "I don't need titles. Just promise me one thing." "Anything," said the king. "Promise me," Naran said, "that when you see an obstacle in your path, you won't wait for someone else to move it." The king smiled. "I promise." Years passed. The kingdom prospered, not just in wealth but in spirit. Whenever people faced trouble, a broken bridge, a failed crop, a hard season, they would remember the story of the boulder and the old farmer who moved it. Children played on that same road, running over the smooth stones where the obstacle once stood. Travelers placed flowers there, as if honoring a sacred place of wisdom, and Elder Naran. He returned to his quiet farm, tending to his rice fields, his ox, and the simple peace of his days. But sometimes, as the wind brushed through the bamboo and the sky turned gold, he would smile and whisper, "There's always another boulder somewhere, waiting for someone brave enough to move it." When Naran finally passed, the king himself came to his village to pay his respects. He ordered a simple stone marker to be placed by the roadside, not of marble or gold, but of the same grey rock that once blocked the road. The inscription read, "Here rests Elder Naran, who moved not just a boulder, but an entire kingdom." From that day on, travelers who passed by would pause, touch the stone, and feel a quiet strength rise within them. Generations later, long after King Arin and Naran were gone, the Kingdom of Valeora grew into a legend. Scholars, merchants, and children repeated the story like a prayer. They said, "When life blocks your way, remember the old farmer. Don't curse the stone, move it, for beneath every obstacle lies the treasure of your own courage." And somewhere, in the whisper of the wind through the valley, it almost felt like you could still hear Naran's voice, calm, wise, and smiling. Every obstacle hides an opportunity. You just have to be the one who looks for it. The road to greatness is never smooth. Obstacles appear not to stop us, but to show us what we're truly capable of. Those who dare to act, even when others wait, uncover the gold hidden beneath every challenge.